One of my projects this week is to make a cushion for the chair in my craft room. And here I'm using an old pillowcase to sew a liner for the cushion. This works perfectly because I only have to sew up one end. I love to repurpose glass yogurt pots, and I was excited to find that you can buy lids for them, so that makes them especially useful. I'm a real sucker for floral fabric, and this one in the shades of green is particularly lovely. So credit to my husband for spotting this one at the fabric store. I was following a YouTube tutorial by Alanda Craft who showed you how to put in a zipper in a cushion cover, and it was an incredibly simple tutorial, and I will put a link for that in the description box. Hi everyone, we're in the middle of a snowstorm. We're supposed to get between, I think, 15 and 18 inches of snow today. That's coming down pretty heavily. And so it seems like the perfect time to bake something that feels warming and cozy. So I'm going to make a ginger cake today, which should be really nice with a cup of tea a little bit later on this afternoon, probably after the dog walk. So let's get baking. I have this little clay disc that I soak in water and keep it with my brown sugar. It stops it from clumping together. It's very handy. In my opinion, you can't have too much ginger. I love ginger. It's one of my favorite spices. Right, teaspoon cinnamon. I wish my teaspoons fit inside my spice jars. All these lovely warming spices are going to be just the ticket today. These will be nice and warming. Okay, so all the dry ingredients are in the bowl, and now we have to get the wet ingredients together. Luckily, my tablespoon fits in my molasses jar. When my mum made ginger cake, which she made quite often, and especially when we went camping as a family, her ginger cake was amazing. But I noticed that she always used black treacle and golden syrup, which I can't get here in the US, so molasses is a substitute that we have to use. But it's okay. Not quite as good as Mum's cake, but all right. Now my wet ingredients are in there, so now comes the elbow grease portion of the activity. Okay, I'm just gonna, I like to put my mixing bowl on a silicone pad. That way it doesn't slide around when I'm... So the recipe says you can add in some ingredients if you want, and I think the choices were chocolate chips, pecans, and candied ginger. So I'm going to go with candied ginger and pecans today. So I just have to roughly chop those before I add them. And it says 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to eyeball that because why not? Some pecans, and roughly chop those too. Stir those in. Hopefully they don't all clump together in the same spot, which has happened before. Okay, so I have my loaf tin with a silicone lifter, and I need my spatula to make sure I get all the cake batter. All right. Put batter in. All right, going into the oven. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it comes out great. For my birthday, I was taken to a lake to go ice skating. This has been on my bucket list for a really long time. This particular ice trail was just under 4.5 miles long. There was no one there, and it was incredibly quiet and peaceful. And I had a wonderful time, even though I hadn't been on skates for a very long time. I wanted to talk a little bit about sock knitting. So I have a favorite pattern that I've knit 3 times, and I have cast on a 4th pair. It's the Impossible Girl Sock pattern by Madeline Gannon, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'll link that in the description box. But let me show you the socks that I've already made using that pattern. I have a green pair. I'll put them on the sock blocker so you can see the detail of the faux cable, and it runs down the front of the foot and the leg of the socks. It has a 2x2 cuff and a garter ridge here, which makes it easy for picking up stitches. This green pair is knit in Round Mountain fiber sock yarn, and the color is pulpit green. So that's my first pair. The second pair is this lovely plummy color, and again you can see the cables here. This pattern is particularly good for solid yarn. I think if you used speckled or variegated, you'd lose the detail. This color is by Keenan Hand Dyed, Farmhouse Hollyhock, and I'll link her information in the description box. She is still dyeing sock yarn. My third pair is onion sock, the nettle sock. So instead of nylon, the reinforcing fiber for these is nettle. You can see, just if you're using a solid color, the detail just shows up beautifully. So those are the socks that I've already knit. And what I cast on last night is this color. This is West Yorkshire Spinners, Blueberry Bonbon. And I cast on using 2.5 9-inch circular needles. These are Chowgoos. And I know these are very controversial. People either love them or hate them. And I am in the love camp. Not initially, because when I first started using them, I would have such a death grip on them that my fingers would cramp. But I've learned that if you really relax your fingers and your wrists and keep a very loose grip on them, they're very comfortable to use and quite quick. They're a little quicker than DPNs, at least for me. And these are great for car knitting because you're not wrangling double points and running the risk of losing one down the side of the car seat. So I will show you my progress as I get knitting on these. They're living in this drawstring bag. I had some wildflower seeds delivered several years ago and decided I would turn the seed bag into a drawstring bag. So I just embroidered some wildflowers on it, made a casing, put in a drawstring, and it's the perfect little sock bag. So they'll be living in here and I'll be working on those. What's your favorite sock pattern? Do you have one that you go to again and again? Let me know in the comments. All right, here's the pile of squishiness going into the bubbles. And this is like very lukewarm water. It smells amazing. The soak is Yutsu. So it's not overly floral, but it does have a very nice scent. So I'm not going to agitate the shawl too much, but I do want to get the stitches nice and soaked so they can bloom. So I'm going to leave this here for 10 minutes or so and then come back and get it when it's all done. The See How It Goes shawl is finished. It's been washed and blocked, and I love it. I love the lace panels, the squishy garter sections. It's just glorious, and I'm still happy with the color shift that happened with the avocado dye. The only thing I did differently from the pattern is I still have plenty of yarn left, so I added an extra lace section after the broken rib, which is where the pattern should have ended. Let's go ahead and try this on. I'll try not to hit the microphone. It's so squishy. And I love the color shift when it's on too. And again, this is the See How It Goes shawl by Samantha Renwick, and I will link the pattern in the description box so you can make one for yourself. I love the early mornings when the sun is just peeping up above the mountains and there are shadows cast across the fields. I love to watch the birds flying back and forth to the bird feeder and just enjoying the stillness of the world. I was given several plates of plotalopi, and I've used some of it already to make a Felix cardigan, at which point I had held 2 strands together, which, as you might know, is pretty tricky. And I thought with the remainder of the plates I would try an experiment and just lightly spin 2 strands together and then wash and skein that up, and then at a later date try to dye it with some natural dye and then knit another project with it. So that's something that will be upcoming in the next month or so, and we'll see whether this experiment has worked or not. I have 2 bobbins so far of the 2 strands of plotalope that I spun, and since I have a tub full of bobbles for my shawl, I'm going to put these 2 bobbins on a niddy noddy and then soak them and get them ready to dry. So let's get to winding. There is something very meditative about winding yarn on a niddy noddy. It just makes you think of times throughout history when women would sit and spin and then wind up their yarn. I just imagine like a cold stone cottage with bad lighting. Luckily, we don't have to sit in the cold and the dark to do our crafting anymore, which is a good thing. I will keep going until I reach the end of the bobbin for this one. I am still a beginning spinner, so these are rustic, let's say. We've come to the end of the second episode. Thank you for spending time with me, and thank you to those of you who left very kind comments after my first episode and who hit the subscribe and like buttons. If you feel so inclined, please do that again. Hit like and subscribe. In the meantime, I've also set up a Ravelry community group, and I will leave the link for that in the description box. It's a place we can share our finished objects, our works in progress, and get to know one another. And then for those of you who are unable to use Ravelry for medical reasons, I also set up a Discord server that's free to join. And I have left the link for that also in the description box. So feel free to come over there and join us, say hello, introduce yourselves, and I will see you in the next episode. And until then, happy crafting. Goodbye.